the Southeastern Academy of Oriental Medicine. My energy has been unbalanced for months. Even my wife, who has less talent in the healing arts, finally notices it while performing Reiki on me. "Oh, Shay," she says, then pauses to lay both her hands on the silk geometric scarf covering her hair. "I can't seem to enter your auric field." "You're having an off day," I reply. "You haven't been eating enough orange foods to improve your self-confidence." We end the session with stretching. I head over to the school, driving the 30 blocks of strip malls and cross-at-your-own-risk intersections to the modest 2-story building I've owned for years. On the way, I make a mental inventory of warning signs. Indigestion, some pain in my wrist, dreams of waking toothless. It's been a long time coming. Still, I'm surprised when the acupuncture needles refuse to vibrate. I've studied the ancient art of manual manipulation since childhood to become the only practitioner in South Florida who can achieve a resonant healing needle vibration with a flick of my fingertips. My internationally recognized work is often cited in the Journal of Integrative and Complementary Medicine. Those seeking healing travel great distances for my treatments and teachings. An empire, so to speak, has been built on my talents. It happens with my only patient of the day. Terry comes all the way from Boca to get her monthly acupuncture treatment for migraines. Without fail, she wears her dressing gown open at the front and groans with each palpitation of her pressure points. She's my ideal patient. In a few months, she'll be coming more often due to a divorce, in grave need of balancing her sacral chakra. Then, inevitably, she'll enroll in the massage and acupuncture program to heal others, just as she herself has been healed. That is the cycle of our family, or it used to be. The needles hit her pressure points as if they've chosen the spots themselves. When I give them a subtle manipulation, they remain silent. I repeat the manipulation. Still nothing. No arrival of ki. I want to blame Terry, laying there full of needles. "How are you feeling?" I ask, hoping for a clue to her culpability. "Oh, wonderful, doctor," she said. "Energy just circulating everywhere." She gestures with an arm and her gown falls further open, exposing her breasts. Her nipples point ceilingward, 2 stupidomes offering meditation in my time of need. Perhaps an exchange of energy would prove healing, I contemplate. Voices rumbling through the hallway break my flow. Students from Mr. Chu's anatomy class, loud, baritone, and unmistakably male. I turn the tonal music of the handpan louder, but the noise is unrelenting. Terry leaves. I do a walkthrough of the school to observe the situation with my third eye. The busy atmosphere is unrecognizable from 6 months ago when the classrooms were at half capacity. For years I'd handled admissions myself. The school grew. I got busy with classes, research, patients, and enrollment started to drop. It was my wife's idea to delegate the job to someone else. We ran ads in the Help Wanted section of the Miami New Times and got 2 applicants. The first never showed up for the interview. And then there was Marina. She appeared in my office with a CV that smelled like a freshly smoked cigarette. It contained 2 entries: babysitting, cashier at 7-Eleven. "Do you do stretching or body work?" She popped her gun. "No, wait, I'm not flexible." Petite and blonde, she had the exotic toughness of a German born and raised under the South American sun. Are you familiar with Eastern healing?" "You mean like placebos? My grandmother had a thing for tea. She could make one for whatever ails you." She tapped her finger to her temple, as in the head, you know. "But that heals too." She was obviously not a fit. I've learned the most gentle way to tell people no is to give them an assignment that they're not capable of. Step 2 in the interview process, I said, is to create a brochure for the school. I handed her my card. Please send it to me by the end of the day tomorrow. My wife found the brochure in the fax machine the next day. She brought it in with a clay pot of warm green tea. The brochure, which she had folded along the margins, was tucked between the teacups. It's good, she said. Even the grammar's fine. I traced my thumb over our logo on the cover. But how did it make you feel? Balancing the books when everything is in the red makes my stomach churn. I don't have that feeling when I read this. It's not only about money, I said. We're building a family here. Do we want this woman in our family? I got a sense that our family needs more yang. My wife was waiting for me to accept the teacup from her, which she extended to me from the shelter of both palms. I could not refuse. Well, the day I offered Marina the job, I had specified that she come to the school. We're starting you off with a 6-month probationary period, I explained. Isn't it usually 3? I looked up from her freshly printed contract. I'd been staring at it to avoid looking at her. She wore the miniest of mini skirts and platform sandals with straps that wrapped around her ankles. Her left foot traced clockwork circles in the air, and she smiled. It's 6 here. I slid the contract across the desk at her. Do you want to take it home and think about it? She stood and selected a pen from my holder. No, she said, let's do this. She signed with a flourish, placing a heart over the eye of Marina instead of a dot. Her initiation period began the following week. In the mornings, I'd pull into the parking lot to see her blissfully mid-dragged on a cigarette. The smoke irritated my eyes, and inevitably I fumbled with the keys, sometimes dropping them, before I could unlock the school door. We have treatments for bad habits and addictions, I said to her after a week of this routine. I know, she replied. Deb stuck some needles in my earlobes yesterday, and frankly, it might have helped. This is only my 4th cigarette today. My wife gave you a treatment? Yeah, she's been great. She said I can't really talk about the school unless I understand what we do here. Marina mistook my long pause to breathe as the end of the conversation. She stomped her cigarette out and sashayed into the school like she owned it, saying, "See you later, Doc." When I asked my wife about the treatment, she said, "You've been so busy, and the woman obviously needs training. She doesn't know Tuaina from Shiatsu." Indeed, under my wife's mentorship, Marina learned considerable amounts about Oriental healing. I'd find them at any moment of the day, heads together, talking, doing, learning. My wife's laughter started to grate on my nerves, high and loose. It would break into my moments of meditation. "You never used to find moxibustion so funny," I said to her one day when I came upon them in a treatment room, still slightly smoky from burning mugwort. They both broke into giggles. I heard Marina say, "Isn't it ganja in Asian?" as I headed down the hallway. Despite growing misgivings, I put aside my annoyances and approached Marina with goodwill. My wife had given Marina the basics. Now it was time for the crowning glory. "Come to my office at 3 this afternoon," I told her on a Friday that had several cancellations. She arrived 15 minutes late. I busied myself preparing the treatment area and dimmed the lights. "What's all this?" she asked. "We're going to do a treatment so you can understand the expertise that built this school." I shuffled the intake papers. "First, I need to answer a few questions. Please sit down." She didn't sit, but her gum-chewing paused. "Oh," she replied, drawing it out as 2 long syllables. "How would you characterize your sweat?" I began. "Wet." I tried to ignore her as she hovered over my tools in the treatment area. "Heavy or light? Does it cover your whole body or only parts?" Depends what I'm doing. She smiled, challenging me to ask her to elaborate. I returned to my questionnaire. How would you describe the smell? Marina picked up my kit of needles and brought them close to her eyes in the dim light. Are these made of gold? Yes. Gold is beneficial at tonifying points when qi or yang is deficient. Sheesh, said Marina. Rolls Royce over here. Debs are stainless steel with plastic tips. My wife and I have different specializations. To be exact, she was my student. I founded and ran this school for 10 years before she joined. Reminds me of a saying my grandma had. Something about green is from blue. Do you know it? No, I said. Marina looked away from me at her watch. I've got a student in 5 minutes. We'll reschedule? I looked the phrase up on the internet that afternoon. She never rescheduled.